There are things people overseas are told to never do. Dropping your wallet, leaving your belongings unattended, and letting a small child ride a train alone. But in Japan, all of these things happen almost every day. Why? Tokyo is one of the busiest cities in the world. Every day, countless people ride trains, walk through stations, and pass each other on the streets. Normally, you'd think that the more people there are, the more problems there would be. But in Tokyo, you see something a little strange. People sleeping on the train while holding their smartphones, people leaving their bags or laptops at a cafe table while they go order, people walking alone to a convenience store late at night, and elementary school students walking to school by themselves with their backpacks. For Japanese people, these may feel like normal everyday scenes, but for many people visiting from overseas, they can be shocking. Why doesn't anyone steal anything? How can children walk around by themselves? Why does life here feel so safe? Japan is often known one of the safest countries in the world, but the reason is not simple. Maybe Japanese people are just honest. Maybe the laws are strict. Maybe there are many police officers. Some people might think that, but those answers alone cannot explain everything. Japan's safety is created by a mix of culture, education, social systems, and small everyday habits. However, Japan is not a perfect country. Crime still exists. There are dangerous places and there are situations where you still need to be careful. So, in this video, I'm not just going to praise Japan. As someone who actually lives in Tokyo, I want to show you the real reasons why Japan is considered so safe. Is Japan's safety truly special? Or is it created by systems most people never notice? Let's start one everyday scene that surprised many foreigners when they first come to Japan. What surprised many foreigners when they first come to Japan is not a famous tourist spot. It is actually the ordinary, everyday scenes in normal towns. For example, when you go to the station, you often see people sleeping on the train. Office workers tired from work or students on their way home from school sometimes fall asleep while still holding their smartphones. Of course, this does not mean it is completely safe, but it does show that many people feel safe enough to sleep on the train. From an overseas perspective, this may look very strange. When I was in university, I studied abroad in Barcelona, Spain, and one of my Japanese friends fell asleep on the train there. His smartphone, which he was holding in his hand, his wallet in his pocket, and even his bag were all stolen. Sleeping on the train overseas can make you an easy target. And you might be wondering, did nothing get stolen from you? Of course, something was stolen from me, my smartphone. It was stolen at Barceloneta station on line 4 of the metro. That experience was honestly one of the worst moments of my life. And when you go to a cafe or a food court in Japan, you may see another surprising scene. Some people leave their bag, smartphone, or even laptop on the table to save their seat while they go order. Living in Japan, I see this kind of thing quite often. But when you really think about it, it is pretty amazing. Leaving your belongings unattended and walking away. There are probably not many places in the world this is done so casually. Of course, I'm not recommending it. Because of my experience in Barcelona, I still cannot leave my belongings and walk away. Even in Japan, I still put a padlock on my bag. I will never let anyone steal from me again. Anyway, back to the story. Theft does happen in Japan, but even so, many people still feel it should be okay for just a short time. And I think that feeling itself shows how safe Japan feels. Also in Japan, you often see children going to school by themselves. They carry small Landcell backpacks, walk with their friends, and sometimes even cross the street alone. For Japanese people, this is a normal scene, but for people from overseas, it can be very surprising. Is it really okay for such small children to walk without adults? Many people feel that way, but in Japan, school routes are often decided in advance. People in the neighborhood keep an eye on the children, and the children are taught traffic rules at school and at home. So, even though it may look like children are walking alone, in reality, society is quietly watching over them. This is also one of the important reasons Japan feels safe. And at night, there is another very Japanese scene. Even late at night, convenience stores still brightly lit. People are casually shopping. Office workers, students, and people living alone are also often going to the convenience store at night. Of course, you still need to be careful at night. Trouble does happen in Japan too. But even in a huge city like Tokyo, the feelings that you can walk to a convenience store alone at night is one of the big characteristics of living in Japan. These everyday scenes feel normal to Japanese people, but from an overseas perspective, they can look almost unbelievable. People sleeping on the trains, people saving seats with their belongings, children going to school by themselves, convenience stores open late at night. All of these are easy to understand examples of how safe Japan feels. But here is a question. Why are lots items and belongings more likely to come back in Japan? Next, let's look at one of the most symbolic parts of Japan's safety, the culture of lost items being returned. When people talk about Japan's safety, there is one topic that almost always comes up: lost property. On social media, you'll find countless stories like these. I lost my wallet and it actually came back. I left my smartphone on the train and I was able to pick it up at the station. Stories like these are surprisingly common. In Japan, it is not unusual for lost items such as wallets, smartphones, or key to be handed into the police or station staff. In Tokyo alone, millions of lost items are turned into the police every year. Of course, not everything makes its way back to its owner. Some items are still stolen or never recovered. But even so, many people naturally choose to hand in something they find instead of keeping it. So, why does it happen? One reason is that many Japanese people are taught from a young age that
if you find something that doesn't belong to you, you should turn it in.
Children learn this at school and at home. And for many people, it simply becomes a normal part of everyday life. But there is another important reason. Japan has a system that makes returning lost items easy. Train stations have lost and found office, and throughout cities, you'll find small neighborhood police stations called koban. People know exactly where to take a lost item, so returning it doesn't require much effort. In other words, Japan's culture of returning lost property isn't based only on people's honesty. It is also supported by a system that makes doing the right thing simple and convenient. I've ever seen people handing in lost wallets and smartphone myself. In Japan, that's not considered extraordinary. It's simply an ordinary part of everyday life. Of course, theft still happens in Japan, so it's never a good idea to assume that you'll always get your belongings back. You should still keep an eye on your valuables, especially while traveling. Even so, the idea that if you find something, you return it is deeply rooted in Japanese society. And I think that that's one of the key reasons why Japan is known as such a safe country. But this culture doesn't exist on its own. It's supported by small facilities that you'll find all across Japan. Next, let's take a look at one of Japan's most unique features, the koban, and how these small neighborhood police help create a safer society. If you walk around any Japanese city, you might notice a small building with a sign that says koban. If it's your first time in Japan, you might wonder, what is that building? A koban is a small neighborhood police station, but it's much more than just a place where police officers work. It's a place people rely on in everyday life. For example, tourists who get lost often stop by koban to ask for directions. People bring in lost wallets, smartphones, and other valuables. Police officers also help lost children and respond to small problems in the neighborhood. In other words, a koban isn't just a place for catching criminals. It's a place that helps local communities feel safe. As you walk around Tokyo, you'll see koban everywhere, near train stations, shopping streets, and busy intersections. Knowing there's always a place nearby where you can ask for help gives a real sense of security. And it's not just Japanese people who appreciate them. Many tourists have shared stories about getting lost in Japan and being kindly helped by police at the koban. Of course, having a koban doesn't mean crime never happens. But having police officers working closely with a local community helps create an environment where people feel safer in their daily lives. And there's another important reason why Japan is known for its safety. One of the biggest differences between Japan and many other countries is its strict gun control. So next, let's take a look at why gun crime is so rare in Japan. If you live in Japan, you'll almost never see a gun in your daily life. Police officers do carry firearms, but it's extremely rare to see an ordinary person carrying one. For many visitors from overseas, that alone can be surprising. In Japan, gun ownership is strictly regulated by law, and ordinary citizens cannot simply buy a firearm. As a result, gun-related crimes are extremely rare compared to many other countries. For most people living here, the thought of I might run into someone with a gun today simply doesn't cross their mind. Of course, that doesn't mean Japan is free from crime. Violent crimes still happen. There are assaults, crimes involving knives, and crimes that target vulnerable people. So Japan is certainly not crime-free. However, for many Japanese people, worrying about someone carrying a gun while going about their daily lives isn't part of everyday life. And I think that sense of psychological security is one of the things that makes Japan feel so safe. Personally, when I walk to a convenience store at night or take the train, I've never thought, what if someone here has a gun? To me, that feels completely normal. But when you look at the rest of the world, it may not be normal at all. That said, I don't want to give the wrong impression. Having very few guns does not automatically make a country completely safe. A safe society isn't created by a single law. It's built through a combination of laws, culture, education, everyday behavior, and the values people share. And one of the things that best represents Japan is the way people try not to inconvenience others. So next, let's look at how this everyday mindset helps make Japan a safety place to live. Japan's safety isn't supported by laws and police alone. Many people believe that the small habits and everyday manners you see in daily life also play an important role. If you spend time in Japan, you'll probably notice scenes like these. On train platform, people line up patiently, wait for their turn to board. At crosswalks, many people wait for the light to turn green. Even when there are no cars around, on trains, it's rare to hear someone talking loudly on the phone. And even in crowded places, people often make room for each other and try not to get in anyone's way. Of course, not everyone follows the rules all the time. There are people with bad manners and problems do happen. But overall, many people seem to share the idea of not waiting to inconvenience others. In Japan, there's a phrase called reading the air. It means paying attention to the people around you and thinking about how your actions might affect others. Because of that, many people feel uncomfortable doing things like speaking loudly in public, cutting in line, or littering. When enough people share these values, they help create a calmer and more ordinary atmosphere throughout the city. Another idea that influences people's behavior in Japan is desire to avoid embarrassment or bringing shame upon themselves. Breaking the rule isn't seen as affecting only yourself. It can also be seen as causing trouble for the people around you. This way of thinking is quietly shared throughout society. Of course, this culture isn't perfect. Sometimes people may worry too much about what others think. But at very least, being considerate of others and respecting public manners helps create an environment where people feel more comfortable and secure. And these values don't suddenly appear when people become adults. Many Japanese people being learning them from childhood through school and their local communities. So next, let's take a look at how Japan's education system and neighborhood communities help create one of the safest societies in the world. Japan's safety wasn't built overnight. From a young age, many Japanese people grow up learning the importance of following rules and being considerate of others through school and their local communities. One of the best examples is school cleaning. In many Japanese schools, students clean their own classroom and hallways. In some other countries, this is the job of professional cleaning staff. So many visitors are surprised to learn that Japanese students do it themselves. The idea is simple. If you use a place, you help take care of it. Through this experience, children naturally learn to respect public space and take responsibility for their surroundings. Many schools also have students work together to serve lunch and clean up afterward. Rather than doing everything on their own, children learn from an early age how to cooperate with others and contribute to a group. Another thing you'll often see in Japan is the local community looking out for children on their way to school. In the morning, volunteers stand up crosswalk to help children cross safely. Neighbors often greet students or keep an eye on them as they walk by. So, even though it may look children are walking alone, they are actually being quietly supported by the community around them. Of course, not every neighborhood is the same. In recent years, as people have become more concerned about safety, more parents choose to drive or walk their children to school. Even so, the idea that raising children is something the whole community helps with is still one of Japan's distinctive characteristics. The valued children learn through school and their communities don't produce results overnight, but over many years, they help shape habits, caring about others, and taking responsibility for shared spaces. And perhaps those small habits are part of what makes everyday life in Japan feel so safe. So far, we've looked at several reasons why Japan is known as a safe country, but there's one important thing to remember. Just because Japan is considered safe doesn't mean you can do anything without being careful. Finally, let's take a look at the other side of Japan's reputation for safety and the things both tourists and residents should still watch out for. So far, we've looked at several reasons why Japan is known as one of the safest countries in the world. But there's one thing I don't want you to misunderstand. Japan is not a country without crime. The truth is, crimes such as theft, flood, and assault still happen every single day. Bicycles are stolen. People lose money to phone scams and online fraud. There was even a strange case where someone stole only a bicycle seat and replaced it with a broccoli. Yes, a broccoli. So, no, Japan isn't perfect. There are also problems such as harassment on crowded trains and trouble in nightlife districts. That's why, whether you're visiting Japan or living here, it's still important to use common sense. Don't leave your valuables unattended. Avoid walking alone in isolated areas late at night. Safety habits are just as important in Japan as they are anywhere else. That said, compared with many other countries, many people feel they spend less time worrying about their personal safety in everyday life. I've been living in Tokyo for years, and when I go for a walk at night or stop by a convenience store, I rarely feel unsafe. Of course, every situation is different. The level of risk depends on where you are, what time it is. So, instead of saying that Japan is completely safe, I think it's more accurate to say that Japan is a place where people generally feel safe in their daily lives. And that feeling doesn't come from just one reason. It's built on many different pieces working together. A culture of returning lost property, neighborhood police stations called koban, strict gun laws, a culture of respecting others and trying not to cause inconvenience, and values that are taught from childhood. Together, these things have helped shape the Japan we see today. Now, I'd love to hear from you. If you lost your wallet in your country, do you think you'd get it back? Would you feel comfortable walking alone to a convenience store late at night? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your experience and how they compare with Japan. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you the next video. Bye bye.